Konbanwa, yokoso, or should I say good evening and welcome. Tonight, for our language series, we're going to go over Hiragana, which is one of the writing forms of Japanese. And I'm really excited because for the first time in my language series, I didn't have to do any kind of research or studying or really any kind of practice because I already know this language. Yes. I started studying Hiragana when I was 13, 14, because that's about the age when you start watching anime and all that. So I really wanted to know what they were saying, especially since I lived in the dial-up era where the only way I could watch Japanese anime was to download 4-minute clips, which would take about 2 hours on dial-up internet speed. So I started teaching myself Japanese back then. I'm a little rusty because for the last 5 years I've been studying Korean and haven't focused on Japanese at all. Not to mention I was really discouraged from really seriously pursuing Japanese to be able to speak it more conversationally. Because I was really bad at writing hiragana. I really felt I was really sloppy. But, as I became an adult, I really came to realize that that doesn't matter. People go through life with sloppy handwriting in their first language. It's fine if you have sloppy handwriting in your second language. Totally fine. So I've really tried to, whenever I see it anywhere out in the wild, I try to read it as best I can. And it's like deep in my brain somewhere. If I stare at it hard enough and think hard enough, it comes out. If I like search through the files of my brain, I'll find it, But like I said, hiragana is one of the Japanese writing styles. There are 3 different types. I know it's one of the stereotypes that Japanese is a really hard language and come on, pen. Come on, I'm trying to do it quietly. One of the reasons as a stereotype is that they have 3 alphabets. But let me explain. So the first one is called Katakana. The second one that we're going to do tonight is Hiragana. And the third one is Kanji. So Katakana in modern day is mainly used to write words that aren't from Japan, that aren't Japanese. So, for example, if I wanted to write my name in Japanese, I would use katakana characters. Let me show you an actual example because I am a nerd. Here's my Sailor Moon Tankobon #1. Tankobon is just a collection of comic book issues all put together. Let me try to bring it closer so you can see. Here we go. So Sailor Moon has a lot of English in it. They say a lot of English phrases. So for example, Sailor Moon, written out, is not the Japanese word for sailor, Japanese word for moon. It literally says Sailor Moon in English and Japanese. That's what katakana is. So it says Sailor Moon. And in my language series, we've had a lot of short and long letters. Japanese gets around this by having these dashes. So when you see a dash, that just means that this character becomes long. So this would be se. Add the dash, it's se. So it becomes long. So this is Sailor Moon because it's katakana. It's an English word, right? So it's if you got a Japanese newspaper and there was a story about American politics, the politicians' names would be in katakana, stuff like that. Anything that's not originally Japanese is written in katakana. So it's an important thing to study. It's a good way if you're like just learning Japanese. Like if you're just a straight basic, I would recommend studying katakana first because it's very simplified. It's a lot easier than writing this, and it's all the same sounds. These have all the exact same like sound characters. It'll make sense later, I promise. Hiragana is the most common type of letters in Japan. You'll see it everywhere. Everyone uses it. It's when you're a toddler learning how to write, you learn how to write hiragana. So this is why we're doing this alphabet in this video. Kanji is the one that is difficult. Kanji is the one that's based on Chinese characters. There's over 400. It's difficult because hiragana is a letter system. Kanji, one character is one word. So you have to learn each character to understand the word. Kanji is not necessary to learn to survive. It is important that you at least learn, the basic most used characters, especially if you're going to like move or stay in Japan for an extended amount of time. And you definitely have to learn kanji if you're going to school in Japan, to like pass tests and things like that. But you don't have to study it to survive in Japan. But you will see it everywhere, definitely. And let me show you an example of kanji. Kanji is also really used for very proper nouns or for very ancient words. This is Inuyasha Tankobon number 1, another one of my big favorites. So Inuyasha's name, this is Inuyasha. He's the titular character. His name's written in kanji, also the author's name's written in kanji. So why I say you don't need to learn kanji to survive, especially if you're just like visiting Japan, is that 99.9% of the time, especially in situations like this where it's like a comic book, meant for like, if it's a situation where children could read it, they will I'll put it really close, the hiragana sounds next to the kanji so that you can still read it and understand it and know what it says if you don't know what the kanji is. So, there's a lot of this book is a time travel story where the main character Kagome goes back to the Warring States era, the Sengoku Jidai, which me saying that in my History of Japan video is totally a call out for any Inuyasha fans. So there's a lot of like ancient things. So like this is the Shikano Tama, the Jewel of Four Souls. So anytime they talk about things like that, they'll say it in the kanji, and next to it they'll put it in the hiragana. So if you don't know the kanji syllables for the things they're talking about, you can still read it in the hiragana, which is helpful for people like me trying to read this and not knowing. Really, I think I know one kanji symbol for sure, but maybe I could point out a few others. But yeah, that's always very helpful. So those are the 3 alphabets. So when people say Japanese is so complicated because there's 3 alphabets, it really isn't. This one is really simple. I mean, so is this one. This one is like the simplified version of this one. It's really this one that is the complicated one. It's, people really over-exaggerate the whole concept of 3 alphabets. It's a little much, especially when you see how simple writing this alphabet is. Also, the little disclaimer, I learned how to write this alphabet literally I'm not going to say how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. Dial-up internet, guys. So, there is a certain way you have to write all the strokes, but I don't remember. I'm pretty sure, like, muscle memory, I remember it, but if I get it wrong, 1, I'm sorry, but also 2, I don't really care. I mean, I do on some level, but also like, oh well. So, here's how I'm going to teach you hiragana. This is honestly the easiest way to teach hiragana. I'm going to start with the vowels. And once you master these vowels, you can master any sound in Japanese. Japanese is really easy to pronounce. There's only one sound in Japanese that's hard. And if you know my language series, you already know what sound it is. Trust me. But let's start with the vowels. Our vowels are, of course, I have to get around the mic and the cat in my lap. So he's been super clingy since I started going back to work. So let me go around the mic and just write. Oof, we have A, E, U, E, and O. Got a little flag here to tell me where to stop. A, E, U, E, O. Those are the vowels in Japanese. A, E, U, E, O. If you can say those, you can say anything in Japanese. There's no exceptions to how these vowels are pronounced. It's not like in English where, you know, this is sometimes A, this is sometimes A. It's always A, it's always E, it's always U, it's always E, it's always O. Always, always, always. Let's start with the writing. So this is the A symbol. Again, for this one, I have to reach around a cat and a microphone, so I'm going to be kind of quiet for a second. It's a little sloppy, but I do have a cat in my lap. This is the A symbol. The only really difficult thing I should say about learning hiragana and katakana for that instance is that you have to memorize a lot of symbols. Like there's no getting around that. And every Japanese teacher will have some crazy method of memorization, like little tricks, little stories, and they're all stupid. They're all silly. They're all really lame. And I definitely have my own really lame, stupid ways of memorizing symbols. And some of them are really embarrassing because I came up with them when I was like, 13, 14. This one's easy though, because like I said at the beginning of my Story Japan video, Hamasaki Ayumi is my whole life. I have this symbol tattooed behind my ear, so I kind of know this one pretty easily. Like, I'm good on that one. I can't write it very well, but I got it. This is E. This is U. Well, this is A. I'm writing the right part. And this is O. A, E, U, A, O. And I'm going to go like this. You'll find out why in a bit. Come on, work with me here. Okay. There we go. Fix the ooh. There we go. Okay. So, we've been dealing with a lot of abugidas on my language series, and I'll explain it one more time. So, in English, a K sound makes a K, an L sound makes an ul, an M sound makes an In an abugida, a K sound makes a ka, an L sound makes a la, an M sound makes a ma. So consonants will always have a vowel attached, and that's the same in Japanese. All consonants except one, which we'll do last, has a vowel sound attached to it. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna write all the consonants here, and all their attached vowels will go over here in a little grid. It'll make sense in a second. We're gonna start with the K's. Here is K. So here I'm gonna write ka. This is the ka symbol. Here I'm going to write ki. Make sure that's long enough because we got to go 1, 2. Ki. I always kind of thought this one looks like a key. Oh yeah, my dumb trick was that it kind of looks like a dude holding out his arm. So a little crow could land on it who's saying caw, caw. things like that. They're all stupid. You just kind of have to invent your own little ways of memorizing. Like this next one, ku. Looks like a bird beak, like a cuckoo. Like you just kind of have to make your own little tricks. This is ke and ko. So like they are very simple symbols. There's just quite a few more. Let's go to the next letter group, which is S. So for sa, we have sa. We have an exception over here. This is my favorite one. Well, one of my favorites because I like my memorization trick. It's the only one that's not stupid. So for this exception, this sound comes out to she. Actually, I'm going to write it down here. No, I'm going to leave it there. It's fine. She. Because I need all the space I can get. She. She. My trick is that it looks like a fish hook. So it's like fishy, fishy, she. She. So not see, but she. She. This is su. Like curly Sue. Sorry, that's a little small. Like I always say in my language videos, I can't write anything in the same size, so some might be too big, some might be too small. This is se. Se and so. I like this one because it reminds me of like sewing. So. And like this. Sewing stitch. Right, next group are the T's. T. So we have ta. I have a stupid one for this too. Doesn't quite work, but it helps me remember it. So it looks like someone's setting the table. Table starts with T-A. I'll show you why that's really stupid in a sec. Another exception. Always never make these tall enough. So this is chi. 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 Kind of like how this was she. This is chi. Chi. Not T. Chi. Another exception. This one's really important because you'll see this character a lot in Japanese. It is used all the time, and it is not to. It's pronounced tsu, 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 tsu. Let's see. I didn't think of an example. I don't know how to describe it like a word in English. Tsu. I'll have to come back to that. I should have thought of something in English to compare that to. Because it's not like tsu. 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 It's used so often in Japanese, all the time. Moving on anyway. This is te. Here's why this is stupid, because I always remember this looks like a table. Te. And the dot setting the table. It would like throw me off all the time when I was first learning because, table starts with T-A. And I was like, I should really like try a different tactic, but then it was like stuck. But anyway. To. Oh, this is one of my favorites because to me, this looks like to. Like if you just showed this to me and said like, what sound does this make? I would be like to. It just looks like a toe to me. Like I got it right off the bat. Anyway, moving on to, and I have a very squeaky chair also. And a little sad cat in my lap. Anyway. Moving on to the ends. Oh, this is the stupidest one. This is na. I always feel so embarrassed when I write it because of how Anyway. I'll just tell you. Because it'll come up later. Whenever I write it, I would sing na 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 na. Oh, it's so embarrassing, but it helped me remember, So na 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 na. That's how I remembered no. Anyway, moving on to ni. I always thought of the knights who say ni. even though it looks nothing like a knight or anything. Anyway, so it's kind of a tricky one. Sometimes they're a little tricky to write. Looks like a little pretzel. This is new. Not bad. New. This is ne. Ne. And oh, this one is so important. No. This is another symbol that you're going to see everywhere because it means and no also can mean of. Like, you will see this all the time in Japanese. So this one, like you don't have to memorize it just because you will see this symbol all the time when you start studying Japanese. You will see this everywhere. That's like one of the first ones that you'll get down right away because you'll see it all the time when you start Japanese. No. Moving on to the H's. I'll show you how I learned ha after I write it. Yeah. So I always knew ha because of Inuyasha. Because issue 1, page 1, square 1 is Inuyasha going ha 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 ha. That's how I always remembered ha. Isn't that silly? Anyway, there's ha. Not very well written, but I did my best. Here's he, which I thought always looked like a little horseshoe. He. Here's another exception one, and this one's really interesting looking. This is f. And I always thought, since it was so pretty, that it didn't look Japanese to me. I thought it looked like some kind of like ancient Chinese symbol. So I always thought of kung fu. That's how I remembered f. But it isn't like fu. It's f. This is he. So I thought it looked like a hill. And then I'd always think it would be he because it's a hill, but that's he. It would always throw me off. He. And then, So I always hated look like ha all the time. Whenever I do like quizzes, like self quizzes, I would get them mixed up and it was really frustrating. Anyway, moving on to the M's. We have, I was just making sure everything's in frame. Ma. We have me. I always like this one too because another one that didn't really look Japanese because it's like this and then this mu. That's mu. Doesn't look weird. It looks like nothing like any of the others. That's mu. I wonder how that came to be. Surely there's a story behind all these characters. This is me. And mo. Another one I always liked, but I don't know why. Mo. The Y's. There's not a lot of Y's. They got kind of phased out in Japanese. Here is ya. It's just one. Yeah. Ya. There's a U, which is one of the ones I could never draw right. It always looks so ugly when I draw it, which was really frustrating for me. It's really, I just messed it up. One of the reasons why it really threw me off because, like I said, Hamasaki Ayumi was one of my favorites, and her name is Yumi, so the U's I had to learn how to write, and I could never do it right. It really made me mad. I still can't do it right. That looks awful. Anyway, you want me? I can try it again. Just real quick. I won't try to make it better and mess it up even more. Oh, well, good enough. That's you. And then there's just yo, which is one of my favorites. Yo. You'll see this a lot too in Japanese. That was a pretty common one too. All right. Moving on to our friends, the R's. Now, I've really been stewing over this one because it's a sound that I've always known because I've been speaking Japanese half my life. And I really sat and thought, how am I going to teach everyone how to make this sound? Because I really don't know how to describe it. So, because everyone says it's halfway between R and L, which it is, but that's literally the only way I can describe it. So it sounds like, well, an R plus an A is, excuse me, sorry, an R plus an A is ra, ra, ra. So you can kind of hear the L in there, right? Ra, 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 ra. Let me write it for you because it's one of the easy ones. Ra, ra. Ri is also really easy. Ri, which I always thought looked like rice. Ri. Ru is fun. It's the root. Like you're driving down the route. Ru, ru, re, re, and ro. It's driving down the road. That's the route. That's the road. What do you think, kitty? Ra, ri, ru, re, ro. Yeah, I don't know how to describe that one for you guys, but we have one letter set left, and it's the W's. Now, a lot of these got phased out also, so there's only 2 W's left. There is technically still a we and a way, but they're pretty much rarely used. They really haven't been used in well over 100 years, so we're not going to worry about them. I looked them up on Wikipedia and was like, wow, I've never actually seen those before. And then was like, oh, because they haven't been used in forever. So that's wa. And then wo I always thought was really fun. I have to go over the cat's head though. Excuse me, kitty. And that's whoa. I remember thinking how complicated that used to be, and now we've done like Burmese and Sinhala, and it's like nothing now. And finally, not to leave them out, the one consonant sound that does not have a vowel attached to it is just good old n, n. And I know, kitty. And it looks like this. I always thought it's like a really fancy H. So, before we get on to level 2 of the alphabet, let's go over everything and just practice the sounds. I'm going to try really hard not to start singing the alphabet song because we are we are going in the order of the alphabet song. So here we go. We have A, I, U, E, O, Ka, Ki, Ku, Ke, Ko, Sa, Shi, Su, Se, So, Ta, Chi, Tsu, Te, To, Na, Ni, Nu, Ne, No, Ha, Hi, F, He, Ho, Ma, Mi, Mu, Me, Mo, Ya, Yu, Yo, Ra, Ri, Ru, Re, Ro, Wa, Wo, N. Make sense? Isn't that simple? Like, it's really just memorizing how to write all the symbols, honestly. So, moving on to the Dakuten. So, the Dakuten is just adding a little symbol to some of these characters to change the first consonant sound. So, we are going to add a little Dakuten to the K sounds. Watch this. If I be really careful to try not to erase anything. If I add a little dakuten to the K sound, this becomes ga, ga. And that's really because, G and K sort of sound a little similar. You use the same part of your throat, right? Ga, 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 ga. Try it. Use the same part of your throat back there to make those sounds. So it makes a lot of sense. We do the same to, there we go. This becomes gi, gi. This becomes gu. This becomes ge. And this becomes go. Look how easy that is. Right, Jack? Right? All right. We're also going to do this to the S's. We can add it to this, and it becomes za, za, because they kind of sound similar, right? S and Z, sa and za. This is also an exception sound. It is G, G, G. This will become zu, zu, zu. This becomes ze, ze. And this becomes, not a good one, but get it, zo, zo, zo. We also do it to the T's. Let's set the table. Can you guess what it becomes? It becomes da, da. This is also an exception. It also becomes G, different form of G. And this also becomes zu, zu. But this becomes de. And this becomes do. Does that make sense? We've got one more of this dakuten, and it's with the H's. And you're not going to guess. It becomes B sound. Bo. No, ba. Sorry, ba. This is B. This is boo. Be. And I got really small. Bo. Now, surprise, there's one more dakuten that is a different shape. It's a little circle and only works with the H's. And it turns it into a P sound. So it's the exact same. It's a little circle. Oop, there we go. A little circle. So it becomes pa, P, pu, pe, and po. I hope that wasn't distracting. Someone was having a good night. Anyway. So, this is every symbol in Hiragana. Dun, da, da, da. This is it. This is all you have to learn. This is the difficult Japanese language, right? And then katakana are even easier symbols than this. Honestly, they are far less complicated than this, if you can believe it. They are super simple symbols. Simple symbols. Yeah, this is it. So one more time before we erase. I'm not going to go erase one by one because they're very small. Let's say them all one more time, and then we will do a little practice. So we have a, I, U, E, O, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, and ga, gi, gu, ge, go. Sa, shi, su, se, so, and za, ji, zu, ze, zo. We have ta, chi, tsu, te, to, and da, ji, zu, de, do. Na, ni, nu, ne, no. Remember this letter, very important. You're going to see it everywhere. Ha, he, hu, fu. Sorry, you heard the car coming. Fu, he, ho, and ba, bi, bu, be, bo, and pa, pi, pu, pe, po. Ma, mi, mu, me, mo. Ya, you, yo, ra, ri, ru, re, ro, wa, wo, That's it. I'm really trying to not edit tonight. Just don't feel like it. Anyway, that is all the letters of Hiragana. It's so simple. Here we go. Sorry if the camera's wobbling again. I always notice when I edit that it wobbles so much. So I do apologize if that bothers you, but I don't know what else I can do about it because it really is attached to the wall, so it's time to buy new erasers. I don't know what I can do to stop wobbling when it's attached to the wall. So let's do some practice to show you really how simple it is to study Japanese while learning Hiragana. I guess technically there is a fourth version of Japanese writing called romaji, which is just writing out Japanese sounds in English style, which is how I learned to do it because I thought learning Japanese symbols would be too hard. I wish I had done it the other way. But I mean, if that is the easiest way for you, then by all means do so. But I do recommend studying at least Katakana or Hiragana as soon as you feel comfortable to do so, because it'll make everything so much easier. The understanding of the language and the culture and everything. And especially if you do travel to, or plan to travel to Japan, it's an absolute must. There's absolutely no way you're going to survive going to Japan, even though a lot of things are written in English underneath, all the Japanese writing. It's pretty much essential. So anyway, let's do some numbers. I'll show you how simple it is to implement Hiragana into your studies if you're studying Japanese. Let's do numbers 1 through 10. So number 1 is ichi. So we write I and chi. Ichi, ichi. I write it in romaji. Ichi, ichi. That's how simple it is. Ichi. Number 2 is ni. So we just write the nights we say ni. 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 3 is san. And this is good because I can show you how that N sound works, right? So we're going to write sa. I never make these tall enough. And the N sound. So this is san. So there's the sa and the N sound. San. San. Ich, ni, san. 4 technically is just shi. And if you're counting like 1, 2, 3, 4 in Japanese, you would say shi. But a lot of people in Japan don't like to say that because it sounds like the word for death. And superstition is a big thing in Japan. So a lot of people in Japan, when they would refer to anything that was 4, would say yon. So let's practice yon. So it's shi and sometimes yon. But, if you're learning your numbers, you would say shi. A little fishy. Number 5 is go. Go. There's the Dakuten. Because remember, this is a K, ko. With the Dakuten, it becomes go. It's so simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, go. Number 6 is Rook. So you write the road and the cuckoo. Rook, Rook. 7 is also a superstition because 7 is shichi. So it has that shi in it, so it's unlucky. Shichi. Shichi. Shi. It's unlucky because it sounds like death. So you'll also hear people say na 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 na. So depending, on how it's used. Again, if you are counting things, you would hear shichi, but people, if they want to say 7 things, they would say nana. So shichi or nana. Shichi or nana. Make sure, I can't go past there, or else it's not in frame. Go past the flag. Anyway, number 8 is hachi. So you write a ha-ha. Ha's one line. Yeah. Always get them mixed up. Hachi. The Tai Chi. Yeah, there we go. Hachi. Hachi. 9 technically is ku. But depending where you are in Japan with dialects and all that, it could be kyu. So here's a good example on how sounds and things can be combined. So to write Q, we need the ki, and we're gonna get the U sound and the U sound. So if we break this down, this is ki, U, and U to make Q, Q when you combine it together. So it's either ku, like cuckoo, or Q, like that. And then 10 is ju. So there's ju. Same kind of deal. Ju. Ji, because remember it's she with the Dakuten, so it becomes Ji, U, U, Jiu. Got it? That's how easy it is to use hiragana. It's very, very simple. So we have ichi, ich, ni, san, shi, go, rok, shichi, hachi, kyu, ju. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also, I'm told, or I've come to learn because I've seen so many Hamazaki Ayumi interviews and things like that, that I speak with a Fukuoka accent when I speak Japanese. So, ごめんなさい、皆さん。1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's where I'll leave you for the night. It's going kind kind of long. So thank you so much for watching. Arigatou gozaimasu. Oyasumi nasai.